All right, guys. So, NFL free agency as well as the NFL draft are now done. We are in the month of May, and the Jaguars have made all of their major offseason acquisitions. So, a lot can be said about both free agency and the draft. You can nitpick here and there. I know I've kind of shared some of the things that I haven't liked, and a bunch of people have. But one thing that is very, very universally agreed on, and I don't know how you can't agree upon this, but it is that the Jaguars' defense has become a lot better. And I mean a lot better. The Jaguars, when it comes to the different additions that they have made, man, it is night and day compared to last year. So some of the different things that they have been able to do from, I guess position group to position group. On a defensive line, they added number 1 overall pick Travon Walker to the mix. They also brought in Arden Key and Foley Fatukasi in free agency. On the linebacker core, they essentially overturned this group like 100%. I mean, you have Foye Oluokun that they signed in free agency, and he also drafted Devin Lloyd in the first round after moving up from the second round to get him. And he also drafted Chad Muma with a third-round pick. And you also go into it, and on the defensive backfield, they added Darius Williams to the mix. So when you combine that as well as guys like Josh Allen and even ascending players going into their second year like Tyson Campbell and Andre Sisco, this allows the Jaguars to probably be pretty good on defense. I mean, like I said, they upgraded a lot, and this kind of reminds me of the upgrades that they made, kind of similar to the 2017 season. You combine a lot of high-priced free agents with a lot of high draft picks, and, you could be getting a lot of good stuff there. Now, really, I think the X factor of our defense, and usually I'm not very high on rookies, I guess outside of Trevor Lawrence. I don't project them to do a lot, but I feel really, really good about linebacker Devin Lloyd. He's a guy that is just extremely good at pretty much everything involved in the linebacker position. He can rush the passer. He can also drop back, and he's really good in coverage when it comes to getting interceptions. He's great at really shedding blocks and locating the ball and, tackling guys for losses. And just when it comes to overall things that you want a linebacker to do, he can do it all. And I think one thing that is the best about him, which I really haven't started valuing until lately, is that he's very, very instinctual. And instincts are a very important thing because we saw that the Jaguars drafted Taven Bryan, and Taven Bryan had all the tools needed to succeed. He had all the goods, but if your football instinct isn't there, if you're on the football field and you have to think too much, that's not a good thing. Same thing with Caleb Von Chason, and also even Miles Jack. Miles Jack was extremely athletic, but at the end of the day, he just couldn't seem like he handled the mental load very well, and that was ultimately his downfall. And he never really figured it out. It seemed like for the Jaguars at linebacker. So really, Devin Lloyd, he's a spark plug. He's just a guy that loves the game of football. I have really, really high expectations for Devin Lloyd, and I think he's going to be a guy that is on the field 100% of the time. I don't see any way you can really bring him off the field. And also, so he's going to be the middle linebacker. He is the Mike. Also, weak side linebacker, Foye Oluokun, he is a guy that's going to be playing weak side linebacker. He's an off-ball guy. He led the NFL in tackles last year. He's kind of all over the place. And then finally, Chad Muma. A lot of us questioned this draft pick, including myself, because I was like, how are we going to get this guy on the field? What is his role going to be? And he actually shared on 1010 Excel today that he is going to be used as a money backer. Now, shout out to @Kevin from Duval on Twitter, who kind of clipped this and posted this on Twitter. He basically showed that the money backer, the role of that, the role of the original money backer was a safety named Deion Buchanan that Todd Bowles used in Buchanan in a hybrid role that put him all over the field. He was listed as strong safety, but Bowles began to deploy him as an extra defensive back in a nickel or dime formation and closer to the line of scrimmage. He essentially became a line of defense somewhere in between the linebackers and the safeties. And that's what the Jaguars have right now. They have a lot of versatility with their linebackers, with all the defensive backs that they have now. and even some of the linemen that we kind of brought in. So, and a big reason is like, look, why do they get all these linebackers? Why do we need linebackers? Well, if you're the Texans and Jaguars, it is very important to have linebackers. Now, why do I point out the Texans and Jaguars as opposed to the Titans and Colts? Well, right now the division is running through the Titans and the Colts. The Jaguars play them 4 times a year. That's 25% of your schedule is against the Titans and Colts, and their primary way of trying to win is through the running game. They have 2 of the best running backs in the NFL. They have the 2 best running games in the NFL, and if you want to win your division, you have to beat your teams in the division. Even if you want to make the playoffs, you can't make the playoffs going 2-4. You have to start beating your teams within your division. So it is very important for teams like the Jaguars and Texans to have strong linebackers, and that's what we have to kind of go against Derrick Henry as well as Jonathan Taylor. So it's very important to have those guys. Now, next up, the Jaguars need to get pressure on the quarterback. And to rephrase why we need to get pressure on the quarterback is that pressure leads to turnovers. The Jaguars were terrible when it comes to turnovers last year. Just terrible. Jaguars only had interceptions in 6 games last year. Only 6 games did they come away with a defensive interception. And the only times they were positive in the turnover differential margin was 3 times. 3 times, guys. And in those 3 games, the Jaguars were 2-1. And that is just absurd that is true. But sometimes when it comes to really getting pressure on a quarterback, a lot of times you need 2 really good pass rushers. Every team needs a guy like DeJuan Smoot, but what you need in a great defense is to have guys that can rush the passer. And Josh Allen showed in his rookie year he can do it. But his rookie year, he had guys next to him like Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue. In the last couple seasons, he has been the emphasis on defense. The offensive linemen were game planning against him, and it was easy to protect against the other guys. Now you bring in a guy like Travon Walker, number 1, and he has the goods to do it. We'll see if he can turn into a high-profile pass rusher. They brought him in for his upside, for his ceiling, and they do think that he has the tools to be able to go in there and do some work. So, hopefully he develops well, and the Jaguars can get turnovers, get interceptions. What that does is it leads to your offense to have, first of all, what it does is momentum. It gives you a lot of momentum. It also gives you the ball in pretty good field position. If you get the ball in bad field position, then that means that you probably turned over the ball when the opponent was in scoring range. It gives your offense a little bit more juice. Your defense gets more height, and a quarterback is a lot worse state of mind if his last play was if he's coming back onto the field after a interception than a touchdown. So yeah, it's big, and the Jaguars need to start doing it because the numbers don't lie. The Jaguars were by far the worst in the NFL when it comes to turnover differential, and we were drafting number 1 overall. So it's very, very important. Also, the defensive backfield, guys like Shaquille Griffin, I should say. I think at the very least, Shaquille Griffin is a solid starter. Maybe he leaves a little bit more to be desired, but I don't think when he's in there, people are saying bench him. Rayshawn Jenkins, I think, still has a ton of upside. But the big thing about it is how will Tyson Campbell, and Andre Cisco do going into their second seasons? They both came out pretty hot toward the end of the year. Like Tyson Campbell struggled, and Andre Cisco didn't see the field because I think Urban Meyer was trying to stick it to Balky a little bit, and but whatever. Campbell really turned it up at the end of the year, and Andre Cisco, while he did not have any interceptions, he always seemed like he was finding ways to get his hands on the ball. When Andre Cisco was inserted into the starting lineup, he started making a lot of good plays, which was really awesome to see. So we hope those guys can really translate well going into their second year. And also, you bring in Darius Williams in free agency. So what will the Jaguars defense look like? Now, Jaguars bring in Mike Caldwell, who has never been a defensive coordinator before. But we know that he has mostly been under defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, who is actually now a head coach of the Buccaneers, and very well-respected defensive guy, one of the brighter defensive minds in the NFL. And look, one thing that he is he's very aggressive. He loves to run multiple formations. The Jaguars are going to be out here running 4-2-5 defenses, like 3-3-5s. They're going to be having a bunch of different formations. It's going to be hard to keep up with. But you do that when you're versatile, and you need guys that are good in coverage to be able to run all different kinds of blitzes, because you need guys still covering. And in order to run a really effective 3-4 defense, you had to have good defenders. I guess that goes without saying. I mean, you're not going to have a good defense with bad defenders, but when you're blitzing a lot and you don't have guys that can cover, then it's a huge liability and your defense is not going to be good. So the Jaguars majorly upgraded, and ultimately from this draft and free agency, the biggest winner is Mike Caldwell. He came into this job, maybe the defense wasn't the best, but he came out probably smiling ear to ear looking at what he got on defense. So I'm very excited. I think you all should be very excited, and I'm just happy to hopefully have a really good defense again, because a lot of times we don't sit here and get pumped up about a defense, but man, when your defense is out there dominating, sticking it to the opponent, pointing in their faces like Telvin Smith used to do, getting interceptions, sacks, when the defense is to be feared, it is a lot of fun, and it leads to the offense to play better, and hopefully Trevor Lawrence can even benefit from all that. So with all that said, let me know what you guys think. This should be a lot of fun. I'm excited about Devin Lloyd. I'm excited about these draft picks. Let's just hope that we have Saxonville a little bit back. But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Go Jags. You guys watched the whole video. Really appreciate that. You guys can subscribe to the channel for the best source of Jaguars news on the YouTube platform. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. And you can become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month for exclusive channel content. Thank you guys, and go Jags.